Shelby, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first point of business is to adopt tonight's agenda, and I don't believe there are any changes.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Been moved and seconded that we adopt tonight's agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next item of business is guest presentation, and Cameron is here to talk about design work, talk about the field house. So I'll turn it over to
Yeah. So as you know, we did your project a week and a half ago or so. We got two bidders, and they're both local. Keniston out of Lewiston, and then Quality out of Deary. Quality was $489,000 and some change, something right around there. And then Keniston was 700 something thousand. So they weren't too close, but probably about where we expected them to be as far as like how close they were to each other. Tonight we're here to recommend, go with Quality Contractors. They were the low bid on the project, and they're excited. I talked to both of them a couple times the last couple weeks, and John, the owner, is like, they're local. We know what they need. We want to help them out, and so they're excited to come and help you out on the project. And so they're getting stuff ready to go, and if you guys are going to move forward with them, and so if you do move forward with them, we'll work on getting the contract signed. I think the contract, I sent it to you, so okay.
We have a copy here.
Okay, perfect. And so then we'll get those executed, and then they have to get their insurances and their bonds, everything else in order. They're already working towards that in hopes that you'll move forward with them. And then we'll officially do a notice to proceed for the start date, and then they have their end date is right around August sometime. So that's kind of the quick and short of it. I don't know if you have any questions or anything else.
So do you have any revisions to the bid nailed down, or is that still kind of in flux?
So as far as like maybe some cost savings and those type of things on that side, we're still trying to work through a few of those things, so nothing is nailed down at this point on that side. We've been talking about a couple ideas, but nothing is official right currently.
So that could make a difference of a few thousand? Are we talking tens of thousands? Or are we talking?
I would say a few to a tens. Yeah, I would say 5 to 20 is where we're at.
Okay.
I visited with the city the last couple of days on helping us out with planning the water. They'll bring the water in and put the meter box in on the school property.
Okay.
And from there, we'll have to run the line
Okay.
into the building.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Now, I never heard back on what the savings was if we do it or if they did it.
And I haven't got back from them. I haven't heard back from them, so I don't know yet.
Okay. The next one was the sewer, which was, both of them are $2,500 buy-in fee.
To the city.
Correct. Now, the city was going to drop the water, and I believe they're going to drop the sewer too, buy-in fees. But we're going to have to hook them up. They're not going to dig it other than what they have to do for their water.
Okay. Yep.
And we thought that the city might help us and be able to save some bucks by doing it. They had a meeting last night. They said,
Okay. We had hopes, right?
that's a try.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm hearing is the price of the project is probably as big of it may come down a few $1,000.
That is correct. Yes.
I just want everybody to understand that.
So what were some of the cost savings they were talking about doing?
Well, the water line was a big one. And then some of the site, just how extensive that gets. If they can control that site area a little bit. And then one was our new standard detail is doing rigid insulation above the deck on the roof. And so you have your truss and then your plywood, and then you put the rigid insulation above the deck, and then you put your metal roof on top of that. It's a really good system, but it's more expensive than if you put it underneath the deck like it's a typical one. So that was one of them. There's not a lot there. That's one of the issues. Is like we have CMU, wood trusses, and your metal, and then some site work. So
there was something on the insulating of the block too.
Oh yeah, so insulating the block, we called out for foam insulation. So wherever some of the CMU concrete masonry units, you have it somewhere, don't you, around here? Anyways, so some of that we have to grout, so we have to fill with concrete, and then the other areas where we don't, we called in foam insulation, and so they bring in this expandable foam that fills it up, and it's a little bit less expensive if they use perlite, and so it's more like it's a granular thing. And one reason we've gone away from that is sometimes that can settle over these years and years and years and years, and so that's why. But it's not bad, and we don't get a lot of our value either way from them. But you're not looking for a ton of insulation value in that building. Like you're not occupying it all the time. You don't want stuff to freeze and that kind of stuff. Like you don't need a ton of our value on that. So that's one of them.
The question about a sewer line from Cass to
PVC or PBS. Yep.
okay, and that was quite a savings.
That was quite a savings. Yes.
If we went with
PVC or ABS. I said ABS. Anyways, ABS. Yeah, they're just different type of plastic.
Yeah.
Yep. But we're still looking in that same reduction of that bid, which and part of that is, as you know, for public bid stuff we can't negotiate, so it's more of a cost saving stuff kind of afterwards, and we'll have to work on it more so. They weren't close bids, so it's not too big away. Anyways, anyway, we still like to follow the rules. So
we have a board member that isn't here tonight, but he emailed me a couple things.
oh sure.
And he did ask about the disparity in the bids. Was there anything necessarily that stood out that caused that, or?
No, not from talking to both of them. There really wasn't. I do know that from talking to Keniston, typically they're a little bit higher on public bids when they do more negotiated work. I've done some really good projects with them, but they do more negotiated. So on the public side, they're usually that spot where they're at is a little bit higher. But then I do know, talking to quality, they couldn't get a mechanical or a plumber to bid to them before the bid, and so they had to guess. So they actually got bids afterwards, and were able to figure out their price. And so I think that might have been some of that disparity a little bit.
He also asked, did either bidder submit exemptions or assumptions or bid qualifying statements along with their bid that we would need to take into account?
No. They were pretty clean. They just had their bid bond, their sales tax affidavit, and the bid form. That's it.
I think that's it.
Those aren't too bad. So.
Does anybody have any other questions for Ken?
Is there any clauses or anything in there that will, for time for completion and where they're at with other jobs, so we kind of know if things will stay on track like we would like?
Oh, sure. So there's a duration, and I'm trying to find out my phone, but it's essentially it's from 1st of April to sometime in August. I think it's around that 190 days. So there is a duration they have to complete it on.
I want to say it was the 8th of August.
And
isn't there if it goes over that amount of time, you might share that.
yeah, if it goes over that amount of time, there's liquidated damages, and it's $500 a day. So if they, if if by their own forces, like if there's a big weather event and you guys get flooded and they have to, this is just, then that's not their fault.
What about product availability?
So, great question. So on some previous projects, we've had to, but these are projects that were already started with product, availability because of COVID. And so we delayed them and didn't charge liquidated damages and just extended because they couldn't get the product. So, but bidding it where we are at now, they already know when they get the product. And so there should not be a delay because of product availability. And because they know the market that we're in, and so that's where we're at. And the good thing is, like, the pieces that we have, like the wood trusses, the CMU, concrete's been kind of hard to get, but they'll get it. And so all of the main pieces, they'll be able to get those. Where we have had a hard time is the overhead cooling doors. It's just, they've been really bad. And it doesn't matter what manufacturer we've gone to or anything else. And so, they're really good with their submittals. And submittals they send us submittals, say, you specify this product, this is what we're actually going to provide. And then we review it. And so they get those in the line really quickly. And so, like, on the overhead cooling doors, they'll need to, they'll do those quickly. And so we won't have a delay. And so I don't see an issue with product availability currently. It doesn't mean something's not going to change. And if something does happen, we'll have to, figure out the best recourse at that time. And sometimes we have like changed, like, okay, they can't get, that exact color of CMU or that metal panel, but what can we get that's similar? And is that going to be okay? We've had to be a little bit flexible on some product, not in quality, just flexible on like kind product.
And then, Joe, can you remind me, you're going to be the project manager?
Sure.
No,
Yes.
I mean, you're planning on being out there daily and kind of checking on.
That is correct.
One of the other things that Mark asked, and maybe you talked about this, what's your confidence level that Quality Construction's numbers are really complete and they're not going to get 50% of the way done and realize there's significant additional costs?
Yeah, good question. So we did go through and they've already vetted their bid. So and so and we've done lots of projects. Our office has done lots of projects with quality. We haven't had that issue. They've been ones that are pretty low on change orders. They just go get the work done and figure it out, and they don't ask money for every little time they turn around the corner. So that's one of the good things about quality across the board is they haven't been high on change order rates.
Do they have a project that's completed in our area that we could look at for?
Oh.
Genesee Fire Station.
We did the Genesee Fire Station. And I'm just curious to see some of their work.
Oh, for sure. They have quite a bit up in the Moscow area. I don't know, in the Pullman area. They did our office remodel in Pullman. Oh, you do? Okay. They do quite a bit of stuff up on the campus at U of I, and they've done quite a bit of stuff for us at the hospital over in Pullman. And I can get some projects listed from you if you would like.
Okay, we can. Yeah, I can follow up with you too and just.
Yeah.
Look at the website, we have listed in there about
Okay.
projects I wouldn't.
Sounds good. I can see the samples.
So I did talk to fire chief with Genesee. He said they're very good work.
Okay. Good. It's just nice to get some
He'd
things
recommend.
referral.
They're one of the calls I make to get them to bid on projects for me. So we like working with them. So.
There's the fire hall Chad was talking about. What is this?
This is the.
County Supervisor's Office?
That's for the force, isn't it? For the Forest Service, I think.
Well, it looked like the WAMI School of Medicine was on there, which I've been in that building on campus.
Yeah, they just wrapped that one up not too long ago.
I think that's a lot, yeah.
They worked on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah. All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Kim.
Okay, the next item is the consent agenda, which has the minutes for the special and regular meeting, personnel action, and paying the bills. So I'll let you guys review the bills.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve tonight's consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. I assume there isn't any Patron adjustment. Moving on to item 7, financial report.
So I gave you a report. Steve called me today and asked about the bond. sorry, we'll be making a principal payment on July 31st of $105,000. And so at the end of July, our balance will be 1.125. We only make the payments in August and February. I had a meeting down in Boise for the IASCO Spring Finance Workshop on March 2nd and 3rd. It was a lot of just review, and one of the things I did learn is if we were to hire an aide, we can use ESSER funds for that aide because a lot of schools are having a hard time finding extra help. So, and I'll begin working on the budget next week, and hopefully we'll take a good head start. Any questions?
Any questions for Kim? All right, we'll move on to the technology director's report.
I've got 3 things later on that I'll be discussing, but I just want to let you know that our contract for internet service and our WAN services came due this year, and we put that out for bid, and we received one bid back. One. So we will be going with TDS again, but we're only going to go on a 12-month. We're going to do a 1-year contract with them because within the next couple of years, there's going to be some major infrastructure changes that are going to happen in the area. So not willing to lock into a long-term deal with them when we could potentially actually have some competition at some point. So we will have increased service especially between the elementary and this building. We're in dire need of that right now, and all of that is covered both from the feds and from the state, so that's 100% covered. There's no cost to us. So, and then I'll tackle things as we come up in the action items. So, questions?
So Spectrum, they didn't put it in, or they?
Nope. No, and the reason that a lot of them aren't, like, because I asked First Step why they didn't put a bid in, and they told us that they didn't have fiber to this building. Well, there is fiber to this building. It's just owned by TDS, and they would have to lease that. And so that's why both Spectrum and my guess is that's why the 2 didn't do that, because they can't competitively bid based on that. So. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Dan. Principal's report.
Okay. Enrollment stayed steady. March happenings, we celebrated the first week of March into February, March, across America. Lots of activities. We had a book and bead drive-through for our kids. We gave everybody a book and some Mardi Gras beads, and we had a good time. We also had Farm Reading the Family and Reading Matter. The parents came in and kids displayed their book projects, and they had muffins and donuts if they chose or whatnot, and the lower level kids read to their parents, and we had a really, really good turnout. It was in the morning. It was from 7:30 to 8:30. We had our Leader in Me coach come yesterday. She coaches the Lighthouse team, which comprises of 5 of us, and so we just are always constantly bringing that Leader in Me in the forefront, and how we could improve us as getting the Leader in Me word out, to parents and help kids be leaders in themselves. So it was really good. Tomorrow we have Child Find, and we have 19 incoming kindergartners and 18 preschoolers. Because of that, we canceled kindergarten. We have an early release on Friday, the 18th at 1:15. Parents conferences are next week, and we're going to also do a student-led conference, and that is part of the Leader in Me, where the students are actually leading the conference. We're excited about that. That's our first student-led conference. And we don't have school from the 25th. 21st Century, I went to a director's meeting in Cascade. It was actually really great. Really good networking and some really great ideas, not only for 21st, but for our building. It's always nice to network with others, and just other people coming in, and they have other grants or other things that you just don't always know about. So that was exciting. I'm contemplating whether to go to the Boost Conference in Palm Springs. I don't know yet. I started Drawers Ed tonight, and that'll be busy. Our reading committee asked Steve to be on that, and our first meeting is technically on Friday. And we're going to review curriculum. I talked about a couple meetings ago where we are looking at wanting to adopt new curriculum for the fall, and we have some curriculum that I had requested from different companies, and we're going to go through the process of kind of a process elimination. I've got some great, Steve gave it to me, some guidance questions to go through. We're going to do the same things with that. Our ice station report is attached there. I didn't do separate sheets, sorry about that, but I say it every time, but 5% is what we want the red to be in. And I was excited about third grade, a little bit about third grade this month if you want to go on March. I was conferencing with Angie Cannon, and we were just going over some students because this is not the first. She had some reds in there, and we were just talking about kids and what are we going to do to get them into the up to level, and we were just like, hey, more title time, what could we do? And she's like, those stinkers, sometimes they attend and they're really great at testing, and other times they're not. And so that same day, you can go back in and do an on-demand assessment. Anyway, she did that, and then those are the results. But what she did, which this is kind of like the leader in me process, is that she conferenced with the kids as far as, here's where you are, here's where you need to be. And so she kind of showed them that aim line. This is, so kind of goal setting. And it worked for her class, because she's like, how can you just reach just a little bit further and just be, pay attention a little bit more. And so, yeah, they rose to the occasion. It was great. That's all I have. Any questions? All right, thanks.
All right. KHS Superintendent, that's a little bit more.
Okay, our students of the month were Riley Ritzesender and Rachel Olson in the category of school spirit. Attendance over there on the right, we're at 122 right now. We'll be at 124 after spring break. We have 2 more kids coming in. Discipline report, we had 15 referrals in the last month, mostly from tardies. We had a couple suspensions and 0 bus referrals. Our attendance over the last month was 92.6%, so that was down a little bit from last time. In athletics, junior high basketball is wrapping up real soon, and those teams are both doing well. They'll be done by next week. Girls basketball, they finished at state. They ended up with the consolation trophy and also won the sportsmanship award. And the boys basketball team lost in the consolation game, and they won the state academic trophy for highest team GPA. Baseball, softball, and track have started. Baseball has 22 players, 18 from Kendrick, and softball has 18 players this year, and 13 of those kids are from Kendrick, and then track has 10 participants this year. We had, just yesterday, we had the That's Life financial seminar put on by U of I Extension Office, Latah County. Shelby's familiar with this, but we had basically a seminar in life and personal finance and living. The kids are given careers and scenarios at the beginning of the event, and then they go around and do things like purchase housing. They have to look at housing options, purchase housing. They have to look at like childcare options, and basically put together a scenario, and the kids enjoy it, and they get a lot from it, and it's pretty good. We do it about every 3 years. So this year we did it here, and Deary kids came down and joined us for it. Last time, 3 years ago, we were up at Deary, but it's a good event, and they do a good job with it. There's a lot of volunteers. There's probably 23, 24 volunteers that come in for it, and they're the ones running the booths for it. Anyway, what else?
Yeah, no, I think I helped with some of the information and stuff that the kids got, but I think just good lesson on the importance of continuing on with some format of education that can get you kind of to that next level. And it was a good even reminder for my kids. One of them was an animal breeder, which did not make very much money and wasn't terribly happy with her life. And one that was a mechanical engineer and came home pretty proud of what he did. So there was quite a bit of competition at home, but you know, just good lessons, and I think it puts it in a fun format. So yeah, I think they do a nice job. They're hitting, this particular workshop is getting all of our 5 kind of rural school districts. Moscow chose not to participate, which is, you know, a little bit frustrating, but good for all of our kids in our outlying areas. So but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and they got a lot of U of I stuff.
They sure did, and you got a new flag.
I did.
I want to see that.
I gave it away already.
I said, you make sure Steve Kirkland gets his vandal flag.
Okay, let's see here. In the next newsletter coming out, we'll have our seniors, they submit like, you know, what their immediate plans are after school. It's like 2-3 sentences, plus senior pictures. So look for that in the next KJ7 newsletter. The field house update, I don't need to speak to that anymore, I don't think. Legislative update, things seem to be wrapping up, I guess, in the legislative session. A couple things that would be pertinent, I guess. There was a bill about districts needing to drug test substitute teachers regularly. That seems to be dead. The bill about librarians being charged for distributing harmful material, that seems to be dead. The full day kindergarten bill through literacy funds was held up today in the House. They're going to revisit it on Friday. Let's see, JFAC voted to move $44 million into the rainy day fund this year and another $77 million next year. So that will probably be at capacity with that rainy day fund, I would anticipate. We had a math curriculum meeting tonight with, Dawn was there, and if you want to say anything about that, you can. What we did is, Ms. Manful and I gathered a group of people. We had a couple of people who couldn't make it, but we gathered a group of people, and we narrowed down curriculum options to about 4 options from Reports, that which is a nonprofit group that reviews curriculum. One of the things I told the group is that what I hear is that, you know, quite a long time ago, the State Department would have curriculums that they would review in relationship to the standards, to rigor, to things like that, usability, and then they would tell the districts, here's some good options. That's not really consistent anymore, so it's kind of on the districts to go through that process. Anyway, so we started out with curriculum that all have high ratings from Reports, and then we're reviewing them with that committee. So we have a couple parents on there, Dawn, Dory, myself, and Ms. We went through the initial steps as far as why we're looking for a new curriculum tonight, and then we looked at what is it we're looking for in a curriculum. And between now and next time, we're going to review more, and then get together again in the beginning of April and see what we come up with.
We have a high school student on that committee?
Oh, sort of, but no. We have those parents talking with their kids about all the stuff they're bringing home.
Okay. Yeah, good. That might, you know, at the elementary level, maybe not quite important. It's not necessary according to policy.
No, that's a good idea.
But I think at the high school level, it might be good to just get
Yeah.
a little feedback if you have someone who.
Maybe we'll bring somebody in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
If there's someone who kind of fits the bill to give
Yeah.
us some feedback.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you get it narrowed down to maybe a couple.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. So that is where we are with that right now. ISAT testing is starting next week. We're starting slowly, and then we'll pick it up after spring break. With the ISAT tests, the kids that take the science tests are in grades 5, 8, 11, and then ELA and math are grades 3 through 10. Let's see. One thing to keep on your radar too that I'm going to talk to you again, moving forward is just looking at our population, our student population. Our enrollment has gone up for about 5 years now by anywhere from like 1 to 3 students or so. And so we're right at that point now where I think we need to look at adding another teacher here at the high school. And so just based on where we are as far as units and so forth, and where we're allocated. To be continued. I think that's something that we need to look at for next year. I'm going to talk with some folks. I'm going to talk with Mr. Eggers. We're going to look at the schedule and see like best places where we can utilize another person. And then the next part of that is actually finding somebody to do that. Which sometimes it comes down to you find somebody that's pretty close to what you're looking for and just see what you can do. That you can offer based on certifications and their willingness to maybe get another certification, things like that. So, math in particular as well. Yes. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Let me see if there's anything else here that I want to talk about first. No, I think that's it. That's it as far as is there any questions on that stuff? The other thing is, do you want to talk about it?
So the board meeting in May was going to be on the 18th. You guys will probably most likely doing a board walkthrough that morning.
If that works for people,
if it works for
we're
people's
looking at that
schedule.
day.
Is anyone open to having a board meeting the same time as soon as the walkthrough's finished? Normally you guys meet at what? Is it 7:45 or 8 for the board walkthrough? Or is it 9? 8. Possibly going to JES first, then coming down here, and then right afterwards maybe having a board meeting at 10 a.m. If that works for people, schedule.
It's gonna rain that day. I'm sure.
So, JES.
Well, just keep in mind, we'll reach out to you.
Most likely, it should.
We don't have to, but just an idea, so you don't have 2 trips. Yeah. That's all I got.
Okay, are there any trustee reports?
I have just a couple things that if I can kind of get on the radar. I was talking with, she just sent me a message here, Lake Hogg County Youth Advocacy Council, and they've kind of dissolved, but they had quite a bit of money before they dissolved, and they put that money into a fund for safe and sober graduations, and she gave me a gentle nudge that Kendrick has not applied for. It's $500, and she said it's pretty much guaranteed to go towards their graduation stuff. So I wanted to get that on someone's radar, and I have the contact for you, Steve, or for Mr. Eggers, or whatever, if you guys want to pursue that.
Yes, and I sent that out because that person, I'm sure, reached out to me too.
Oh, she might have visited Debbie Dawkins?
Well, yeah, indirectly, yes.
Okay.
But I sent that out to our senior parents
Okay, maybe
who
go-
sponsor Senior Sober. And
maybe
we've
go
used that
talk
money
to-
before.
Okay, I saw her last night, and she said that she just hasn't heard from anyone, so just maybe follow up.
Yeah, and I don't know if those parents are doing a safe and sober.
And maybe there's no interest in it this year, I don't know. So, but if they're doing anything, that's certainly good funds, and she said she'd like to see the money go out to support it.
Yeah, and we've used that money before.
Yeah. Okay, and then today was Higher Education Day, so we did have lots of students on campus, and we had our juniors up there. But upon talking to a group from Lapway, they have a grant called the Power Up Grant, which has given them quite a bit of additional scholarship money to students to go in-state to universities. And I have no idea about it. It's a federal grant, but I just wanted to get it on someone's radar. Right now, I think there's about 30 schools that have gotten it in kind of in the nation. I have no idea if it's allocated for only a couple schools in Idaho, but wanted to just mention it. They were kind of ranting about that particular grant.
Power Up Grant.
So I just wanted to throw that out there. And then this kind of just a general, if we don't have to necessarily talk about it right now, but it's kind of been on my radar since we've been traveling a lot for all these kids with athletics and BPA and quite a bit that's coming up. And one thing I just wanted to see if we could talk about a little bit as a board, we've kind of pulled away from paying for their food, and we've asked for the groups to kind of pay for their own food. And what's happened over the course is some of the, depending on the team or what the group is, sometimes there's not the funds there. And so sometimes it is put onto the kids to pay for some of their own. And a lot of times it's fine, but we've been part of a couple groups where there's some kids that it is a little bit of a challenge. They aren't going hungry, I mean, things are picked up and covered, but I'm not sure as a district why we aren't maybe looking to cover at least some of the food for some of these things that they're doing, especially when it's, at my perspective, when they're being at that higher, they're working hard to get to a state competition, whether it's academic or athletic. I would love to see us support at least some per diem for the kids, and if they want to eat over and above, then that's covered by the team and the fundraising, or by parents or the kids on their own. But I'd like to maybe discuss that at some point. So just wanted to get that for open discussion. Like I said, we've seen a couple of the teams that my kids are on. There's several families where it's really a kind of a hardship almost. So, and they're working hard to do great things for our school. So.
So like a per diem for those kids.
We used to vote on it quite a bit years ago. I mean, I remember doing it for quite a bit of FFA and BPA, and we really haven't been asked by anybody for it for a long time.
We used to do it all the time, didn't we? It was kind of stuff away from.
I mean, I think if it's something that's not related to these are kids that are doing good things and going on to kind of I guess represent us at a state level or a national level, and I think it'd be good to at least cover the basics. So.
It's always been it's always BPA nationals. So the last time they did that was 3 years ago, which is the last time they had a conference with the travel too. But we can look at other things too, like FFA nationals.
Yeah. Well, and even like the state. I mean, I don't know. The state. Granted, we're kind of at a point where we're going to state a lot, but we've had a couple games that have been close to home where we haven't had the expenses. So I don't know. I kind of look at it like if we have the opportunity to help the teams and make it a little more comfortable for the kids or the families, I think that's great. And just looking at those funds too, we've kind of gone to a point where I know most of them go to support reps and all that's required for the games, but we've been able to host a lot of our own playoffs, and so even if that money's kind of allocated for it or something, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's changed a lot since I was in school 30 years ago, but I think we always got it was $18 a day or something, and if you went over that, then you paid your own. But at least that kind of covered the McDonald's for lunch and $20, $15 for dinner or something. So that's all I have. I lost. Sorry. Thank you for letting me go through the list.
Is there any other trustee reports? Okay, moving on. We'll go into action items. All these policies. So the first action item is amend policy 300, entrance placement and transfer. This update adds a relevant cross-reference to the policy that provides full details on required vaccines and information on exemptions. This is a recommended update to the department. Anybody speak to any of that or discussion?
I'll make a motion to amend policy 3000.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt or update, amend policy 3000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next policy. 3030, part-time attendance with enrollment. This update adds a cross-reference to the policy on immunizations and exemptions. The district version also removed a paragraph that was mistakenly included twice. This is the recommended update to require. Any discussion? Is there a motion?
I move we amend policy 3030, part-time attendance to enrollment.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we amend policy 3030, part-time attendance dual enrollment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, agenda item 8C, amend policies 3370 and 3372, searches and seizure. This update adds language noting searches of students should be conducted in the presence of two staff members, avoiding situations in which a staff member and a student are alone together. It's the best practice for avoiding sexual misconduct with the appearance of impropriety. At the request of the ISD member, we are adding language encouraging that searches be conducted by a staff member of the student's gender. This is an optional update to an optional policy. In addition to the minor changes prompted by the edits of 330, this update adds new language amending and preventing cases in which law enforcement directs staff to conduct a search. Law enforcement would not have permitted to conduct per advice given at a recent Iowa law conference. So this is a recommended update to an optional policy. I assume we have the policy now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the big things here are just having two staff members conduct searches, and then a staff member of the same sex. And then the other one is basically not conducting searches on behalf of the police because they can't. And we have a little more authority there sometimes.
Any other discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that amend policy 3370 and 3370.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to amend policy 3370 and 3370. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Action item 8D, amend policy 3530 suicide. This update includes optional language on making plans for a student to return to school after they were identified as an imminent risk of suicide. It also adds further details on the professional development required for staff involved in addressing suicide. This is a recommended update to the required policy. Is there any discussion on that slide? Is there a motion?
I move we amend policy 3530, suicide.
I'll second.
It's been moved that we amend policy 3530. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, item 8E, adopt policy 4210P, community use of school facilities. This edit clarifies what is and is not allowed when it comes to use of district and charter school facilities by members of the community for political events. This is a recommended update to recommended policy.
Can I speak to that a little bit?
You bet.
It's not an update for us, it's an adoption. Because when we purchased our manual, this policy wasn't included, so they sent out this update that's new for us. So it's an adoption if we choose to.
Is there any motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt policy 4210E.
I'll second it. All those in favor of adopting policy 4210P, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
I guess once we get into it and start using it, we can see if there's things that are a little bit clunky, but we'll see. It'll be okay.
I know we find, we have to fill out a lot when we do things for campus, and the biggest is that insurance piece. I mean, it's a one that, it's not always an easy.
Yeah, what do you think there? I mean, I'm open to whatever. I mean, I know that we give out the facility to people that don't have insurance.
Not $1 million.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I would say, I mean, if you want to have some sort of clause in there about damage and all that, but I don't know. I mean, if you're going to use it and you're going to have the insurance, because I think there'll be a lot of groups that won't meet that qualification. I appreciate that our buildings are so supportive of our community and our activities for our students and our kids, and I think that sometimes differentiates us from some of our neighboring districts. So I hate to see us make it too challenging for.
Well, let's see here. Is there anything in here right now about damages? I think there is in the other one. 4210P. So in the prior policy, 4210P, it says, and this is what I read, I guess, may require facility users to carry liability.
Is this for political events or just for everything? Because that's what they did.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's for both, for anything.
I mean, I see where it's coming from. I mean, if you have a football game here that's by the group out of Lewiston and a kid gets injured or killed in a, I mean, you know, you can see why they have it. It might limit. And I don't know, I mean, it's one thing to show proof of insurance and it's another to show it at $1 million.
But it says may require.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, maybe it's fine.
Well, in the policy before it says may.
It says may, yeah.
In this one, I'm trying to see.
It says may to insurance covers or may require.
It does.
It says shall in this one.
Well. Well, what do you think? Do you want me to change the wording on this and just bring it back again?
You know, maybe read through it. If we can omit the second part of the paragraph and just have it be the first part of the insurance. I don't know if that's enough. You know, see what you think.
Yeah, I'll just change the language. I know what you mean. I'll just change the language and see what you guys think. So let's table that one if you're okay with that.
I mean, this isn't a required form, so.
I mean, you can create your own form with what.
Well, we've been using a different form.
Right.
I mean, actually, I think the other form that we have, I think it actually.
Maybe we could choose that.
I mean,
Well, it's just.
I don't think calling for insurance is bad, just dictating the amount, you know, is the hard part sometimes.
Yeah. Well, how about this? How about just table it, like you see no more? Unless you guys would rather have this, and I'll just change the language for next time. Your call.
Since we're tabling it, why do you just maybe want to compare the forms and
Yeah,
we'll
that's fine.
go with your
Yeah,
recommendation?
okay, that's fine.
yeah, I think.
I mean, if you want to hybrid them and pull some pieces out, or if what we have works,
And
that's.
I'm not sure that really it has to be in policy.
I'll work on it.
So is there a?
I'll make a motion we table, agenda item 80.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to table the adoption of policy 4210. All those in favor say aye.
Or just the form.
4210. All mine, all mine?
No, I think we're just going to table the form?
Just the form, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a form. Table 4210F, facility use agreement. All those in favor say aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Carried. And then policy 7710, board continuing disclosures certification requirement. These edits are conditions that require material event filing and which requires analysis to determine whether they require a bond filing. These changes were made in the recommendation of the experts of College Council. This is a recommended update to a recommended policy. I don't really understand it much.
What they did is they just added some different events that would require a district to report with a bond. So on page 2 under reporting of events, I'd have to go back to the other draft from last month, but they added 1 or 2 things there that would require us to report a material event filing.
The chances of needing this are pretty low, but I don't know.
No, we already have this policy. They're just recommending we add to it a little bit.
So is there a motion to,
I'll make a motion to amend policy 77.
move and second to amend policy 77. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, action item 8H, approve Go Guardian subscription for technology filter service.
Okay, so the product that we've currently been using for a number of years now is not meeting muster, and so we're going to replace it. And that's what this is. It's definitely not the most expensive, and it's not the cheapest, but it will actually do better work for us than what we're currently getting. So, and we already have funds set aside in 245 for this. So.
What kind of issues do we have with the current?
Support is
Oh, it's
atrocious.
support.
Atrocious.
Okay.
Their auditor product is not catching as much stuff as it is intended to, which is the thing that alerts us when students have issues. To the point where I've put, we turn on a secondary service, and it's actually caught way more stuff than the one that we currently have. So that one, the other one is designed specifically just to catch those things, whether it's inappropriate materials or potential acts of violence or whatever happens to be that comes across. It will alert us. Mr. Eggers and I will get an alert if there's something very serious that comes through. That's a free product. But just for our overall filtering, it's just not cutting the mustard at this point. It's difficult. It's becoming increasingly difficult to use. Its success rate is, if I can go down the rabbit hole on some days where I can go and find the sites that the kids who should be getting blocked are easily just, it's open. And I'm having to go through and manually block more and more and more stuff. And our issue is usually games. That's, especially at the high school. They love trying to find the latest unblocked game sites, and so that's just constant. And I've been on these guys, not our students, but the filter provider for over a year. I've had multiple meetings with senior leadership there. they're not willing to address it, so we're gonna take our business somewhere else.
I'll make a motion to approve the Go Guardian subscription.
This was moved and seconded that we approve the Go Guardian subscription for technology filter services. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Next item is consider KHS concessions manager position. I'll let Steve talk about this a little bit.
So this position would manage concessions for KHS events throughout the year. Our current situation is to rely on student groups and advisors to volunteer for concessions nights. They rarely do it because profit is minimal. There's not very much buy-in from those people, and concessions in general is atrocious, and it just needs to be better. There's no one person that really takes ownership of concessions, and that right there, I think, is the issue. I think we need one person to take ownership of it and offer better food. I think we bring in more money. Talking with other districts, this is something that they do. They pay them out of athletics, and then the profits go into athletics. So I think it's a good thing, and I think the possibility is there that it would pay for itself. Can't guarantee it, and if it didn't work, we wouldn't do it anymore. But I think it's worth a shot. And the ultimate goal there would be to just have that run smoother, have better offerings, and maybe even possibly better profits. What are your thoughts?
Well, the attendance at some of these games is
Yeah, it's
amazing,
really good.
and there's been several nights where it's not open. I mean, there was a couple nights where even the junior high and gym
Yes.
was, I bet there were 200 people at some of the games. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, if there's a potential, most likely do you think be a staff member who would do it?
Not
Or do you-
necessarily.
outside
It's hard telling. Yeah,
But we're not necessarily wanting a student to do it. It
No,
would be
no, an adult.
yeah.
An adult. Yeah.
This would be just for like the high school games and stuff, not.
Junior high, high school.
But not like, AAU or any of that sort of stuff.
Do you find someone?
I don't know. I have no idea. I just think it's worth a shot.
That could be good.
Thoughts, questions?
I think it's a good idea.
I just want that to be better.
Yeah. It is.
And it's like pulling teeth because, and I mean, honestly, we request groups to do it. They don't really get a lot of profit because the product isn't very good. So people aren't spending a lot. But no one group is really going to go out there and transform it for one night into something different. And so it's hardly worth people's time to do it as it is right now.
So how would they get student help? Just kind of where they could wrangle, or?
They might not.
It might be easier to almost run it just with an adult in there.
Yeah. I called about 3 schools and just kind of quizzed them about it. And most of the time it's just that person, but sometimes they have kids and they'll bring in a kid or whatever. I mean, there's different things you can do that we could look at later, but.
So what's an average of probably them coming in and setting up, on when we have 2 or 3 games or whatever, it's probably what a 3-hour window.
Yeah, 3 or 4 hours. One thing that we talked about, Kendall and I in the office, we were talking about, we were saying, well, maybe with this money going into athletics, maybe we ask each athlete for 1 night per year. You work in the concession stand, which is less than what they're doing now, or maybe 2 nights per year. So then you've got some student coverage, and maybe even, maybe you have some kids that want to work off their whatever pay. I don't know. Just there's different things out there you can do, I think. But.
give it a shot.
That's all I got.
I'll make a motion to consider a KHS concession manager.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded that we, hire a KHS concession manager. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carried. Consider accepting the field house bid. What is there discussion on that? Joe, do you have anything you want to add?
As far as a project goes, you know, and I shared this with you early last spring when we discussed it earlier, the opportunity, I don't know if we're at a great time to do this, but I do feel that I don't think it's going to get better as far as dollar-wise. Also, the facility is something that's going to be there for a long time, and it definitely is needed as far as the bathrooms, concession stands go, and the locker rooms. It would be a definitely improvement for the high school locker room that we currently use for football, PE, and so forth. So I would encourage us to go, and it's gonna help us as a district, you know, as far as what's available, and it'll be updated. That whole facility's been rebuilt, all of that. So we've got new lights, bleachers, new ball field in the last 15 years or whatever it's been now. So that's the frosting on the cake, and I think it'd be a good thing to do.
Is there any other discussion? Anybody have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept all the contractors as the winning bid for the field house contract.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded that we have quality contractors and accept their bid for the field house. This is for quite a bit of money. Let's have a roll call vote. Amy, could you call the roll?
Let's take the roll. Mrs. Silverlo?
Aye.
Mr. Parks?
Aye.
Mr. Heimgartner?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
No.
Thank you, I'll have that notated.
Okay, that passed. Okay, item K is consider contracting with the Murray Group to benefit consultant. So I'll let Steve talk to that.
So we've contracted with Murray Group before. I put a couple flyers on the second and third page there as far as different services that they provide. But it's benefits consulting. I think that they would, they'd be able to give us a better idea of the comparison between staying where we are and using the state plan for insurance. And we would only use them, of course, by staying on our current plan in the state benefit pool. So I guess that's the assumption there. If we went to the state plan either this year or next year, then we wouldn't need them. But this is for 12 months. The cost of it's $29 per person, so it's different every year, but about $13,000 a year. I think that they would be able to evaluate and help us in different areas. Who knows? They may be able to save us that amount of money in a year. I don't know. I think they would try to do that. That's what they indicated. But I think it would be a benefit to us. They would handle all the questions. They would come down to the district at the beginning of the school year, talk about what's offered to our employees. They would talk to the employees as a group or individual. they would, what else?
Just a great consult for our benefit explanation to employees above and beyond. Also, our American Fidelity reps, we have them, but they would also contract with American Fidelity to help explain benefits more, maximize for their employees.
Is the contract is for 1 year?
So how many years did we have them last time?
We had them when I got here, and then we stopped having them, how many years ago was it?
4 or 5. Right.
So at least 7 years ago, I guess.
Well, and did we feel the change, well, why did we make the change in date? Why did we do that? Just to try something different?
What you mean, why we stopped? Why we stopped basically was to save money, and things weren't changing much in the insurance. It was just kind of the same every year. So.
Unless you just fill out paperwork and send it there.
But I think there is more change now.
Have you guys got any feedback from our staff? I think it'd be better than shelter. We have 2 staff over there. What do you guys think?
What I'm hearing through the union is that if you actually look at the benefits, what the state has and what what we have, it's kind of a wash when you compare the benefits. If you take the state plan, people with dependents are going to actually have a paycheck, especially the classifieds. Since they're taking like $50 or $100 home, they'll be able to take a lot more home. And so there's that. But I have yet to hear all the details. I was going to hopefully here in the next week or so find out more about the details of the state plan.
They're still going to present to you what our plans are, so you still have the opportunity to
And
let them know if it needs to go up or down or what reasons.
And like what Eric was talking about too, like we know going into it, like we know that they would prefer us to stay put, because that's how they get paid by us. Otherwise, we don't need them. So we would know that going in.
If we go into the state plan, we're in there for 5 years.
I honestly think that for most employers, you probably need to be switching it up every couple of years just to keep it kind of moving forward. I think a lot of employers are doing that.
But if the hourly employees would save money, would not have to be looking for so many new employees every year.
The Murray Group basically they'll put together, if we bring them on, they'll put together like a comparison type thing that will show us the cost breakdown of staying put or going to the state plan. Plus the state is still working on stuff like that too, and maybe Eric, maybe you've got stuff through your contacts as well, like that comparison.
Yes.
But so that's one thing that they'll kind of show us.
Yeah, there's a big question about retirees. And a lot of what I've learned is a lot of the retiree stuff is rule making inside the state pool. And so, yeah, but there's some other details that need to get worked out that I need to find out about.
And we're kind of talking about 2 separate things here. Like we're talking about bringing on the Murray Group for consulting, assuming we're not going to the state plan this year. We have a couple of years to make that decision, but at any point, after a year, if we don't want the Murray Group, if we decide to go to the state plan, or if we just don't want the Murray Group to consult us, if we don't think it's worth it, even if we stay put, we can make that decision after a year.
So we're going to get a lot more money this year for insurance. And so if we had help from Murray
advice on how to best utilize that internal service fund, stuff like that too.
Well, sometimes it's nice having an outside group that can help with the enrollment and the questions of the staff. So I'll make a motion to consider contracting with the Murray Group for benefits consulting.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we contract with the Murray Group for benefit consulting for 1 year, right? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried. Approve CommuNet agreement for upgrading Microsoft infrastructure. Okay, Dan, would you?
So this one and the one next to it that's coming up after it, it's a two-part process. The long-term strategy for the whole thing is this. We're going to modernize our existing infrastructure to move us to where Microsoft wants everybody to be. Now, keep in mind, we, as in this district, are usually on the bleeding edge in education, which means I'm catching up to the last place guy in industry. So what this is we're going to move our existing infrastructure from the current model that it's under, and we're going to completely redo it to match what everyone else is going to. I kind of formulated this before I went down to the conference, and when I got down to the conference, I got with a few people industry-wise and kind of ran past and was like, this is kind of where I'm thinking we need to be. So I engaged these guys, and what was interesting was the conversation that we had. They said, yeah, we actually did this last year. They moved the entire company to what we are planning to do here. So I have existing funds to do all of this. So this is part one of a two-parter. So that's where we're at on this one. This will all take a course this summer. It's a major enough of a redo that I have to have as minimal of an impact on people as possible. And so it's going to be like the second school gets out, we're going to be breaking stuff left and right. So when we get.
So I still don't quite understand what, are we, like, we aren't gonna have a server anymore, is that the deal?
I can't go into those details in public. I'd have to do this in executive session because it gives away details about how we do business, and that can be used by nefarious folks to break my system. So technically, it's moving from removing from Active Directory to Azure, if that makes probably no sense. But basically, it's local servers to cloud servers.
That was my question.
Yep.
Is there any other questions for Dan?
That I can confuse you with.
So we have a similar system where we have an off-site server, and sometimes you run into issues with this time zone things. I don't know if that's something foreseen.
No, it's completely different. So this is all the Microsoft backend. So basically, you're trading the local boxes for the cloud environment, which is what, like I say, what industry has moved to, and that's what Microsoft, all of their new stuff that they've been pitching for the past couple of years, that's where all their stuff now lives. And so a lot of the legacy stuff that we've had that we've held on to. You know, I inherited some stuff that I didn't particularly like, but it was too much of a hassle to get it changed. So it's kind of one of those, well, I'll just leave it till way later. Well, here's the way later. So we kind of have to make the move. So that's part one.
Will this move help with the possibility of a ransomware attack?
Oh, absolutely.
Gosh, we're sure seeing them. They're hitting a lot of just low level.
We, like I say, if you guys want a fairly detailed briefing, I can give you the complete strategy of how we do everything. We just have to do it in an executive session.
My guess is we're going to see a lot of that ransomware stuff increase in the next few months.
Yeah.
I actually have a phone call tomorrow about that with Ms. Isaac.
And we're such a soft target, I mean, it's schools in general.
Yeah, schools in general, absolutely.
I'll make a motion to approve the Microsoft infrastructure upgrade.
It's been moved that we approve a CommuNet Incorporated agreement for upgrading Microsoft infrastructure. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And there's another companion. All right.
Yes.
Computers?
Yep.
Okay, so the computer purchase is the other part of it.
All right, so here, so 2025 of October is the cutoff for support for Windows 10. And we had this discussion before that we are not Windows 11 compliant. In looking at the supply chain and looking at what, there was actually a study that was done by, I think Forbes magazine and Inc. both did one. In industry, most corporations, they have 25% of their fleet that is ready to go for Windows 11. That means that in 2024 and 2025, everyone is going to be scrambling to replace equipment. I do not want to be waiting in line for all the rest of that stuff. So the best thing to do is to get it purchased now and tie it into the upgrade of the infrastructure. That way, when we look for a refresh, that refresh comes in 26, which is a year past when the drop dead date is for that. The machines that we're gonna get are basically, it's this model, but a 15-inch. I surveyed the staff as to, I gave them a couple of things that they, do you want a touch screen and how big a screen do you want? Those were the two big things that I've had some heartburn over the years when we had the Surfaces and we got used to touch screens. That wasn't real hip with the way we were getting equipment, so we have had them for a while. They want a touch screen and they want a 15-inch screen to look at, so that's what we'll end up doing. I got some very competitive bids back, but again, it's one of those things where we'll be on Windows 11 starting the school year in the fall. And so, and it will all tie into the new infrastructure that we are getting ready to do for the summer. So that's kind of the thought. I have money left over from last year, a chunk of it, and I think we're going to try and do ESSER for some of the other, we've got it worked out on the money side of the back end, but just called the two parts of the plan dovetail together on this. We're due for a refresh anyway, so it's best to get it all done in one fell swoop.
So basically, we have administrative stuff and staff with Microsoft products and students with Google.
Yes, that is correct. And the reason for a lot of that is cost. The ability to administer the Chromebooks is light years easier than it is in the Microsoft environment. It'll be somewhat easier for me to be able to administer the new devices and the new infrastructure, but the bang for the buck is for students and Chromebooks. And trying to get an entire staff rolled over to the Chrome environment would be, I'd have be kicking and screaming the entire way, so.
Okay.
I mean, I think technology is still kind of hard to come by, at least in my world, so if you found something you like and get it, I think we job. So I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of staff computers.
I'll second.
So moved and seconded, we approve purchase of the staff computers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. The last item is board input for future items.
I should have saved this separate, that section, sorry.
Anybody have anything else? They don't. second to the adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carried.